Fighting hard, family torn apart. Whispers tearing lives, hearts raw scarred. Judges grinning, deals in shadows locked. Caseworkers speaking truth they've mocked. Gunning on for justice, rage intense. Bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. CPS stealing kids, no trace. Lies build walls, the truth they erase. Gunners howl, cuts through the air. He won't stop midnight, he'll get there. Dark hallways where the guilty play. Secrets hiding, hope fades away. A man with fire, voice like a storm. Breaking chains, reform, transform. Gunning on for justice, rage intense. Bringing kids home from this broken fence. Corruption weighs heavy, laws collapse. Kids go missing behind their maps. Family shattered, cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night. But Gunner speaks of brighter days, cut through the lies. Light ablaze! Family shattered, cries dulled by fights. CPS takes them in the dead of night. But Gunner speaks of brighter days, cut through the lies. Light ablaze. Behind their maps.
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on, but now it's war, this gunning foe. CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears, they breaking our hearts. Been doing it for years, now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof, sworn under oath. Now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's off of Davis popping, and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people, corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. The Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I am your host, Gunner. Been out of the loop a little bit, fighting some illness, so bear with me, still on the recovery. Just a couple quick things. There's a lot of things that are in motion, a lot of things that are moving. As you guys know, we have been recently attacked, federal witness tampering. We have reached out, served, and updated a lot of things that we have done here recently, some things that have been shipped out, copies of a COL, color of law served on everybody that's here, as well as a no trespass order, so on and so forth. In regards to the recent transactions, if you guys have been keeping up with everything, those have been served not only to the people that were directly affected to this. This has also been sent out due to the fact that Congress is in break of session. It has got the attention, yes, some of you, if you're following me on Facebook, that our local U.S. Representative Tim Burchett, if you don't know who Tim Burchett is, he has spoken out about mass corruption and everything else on the House of Representatives floor, the massive corruption, everything else. He has now got his teeth in this. We do have contact with him and his person directly with the DOJ, so he is getting copies of that, as well as several others that are being served throughout this upcoming week with those informations, as well as several other politicians, senators, so on and so forth. Why? Because this is federal witness tampering. This is crossing state lines. This is a felony act that has happened that we're talking about. Those involved can serve up to 20 years in federal prison for doing this stuff. Federal witness tampering, as well as other crimes that have come across. I want you guys to join me this evening. We've got Sharon can join me on this quick update. I know Sharon's been busy this past week, hammering those things out like crazy, getting them filled out, getting them mailed out, making sure that they're done, they're served, they're addressed to the right people. Copies are being sent to the right people. They're getting the information, so on and so forth. As you guys know, that they're trying to pull her into a court in Kentucky over something, trying to retry the whole case and everything else with false, once again, everything, even mentioning the federal case and the date of the federal case in their complaint, which was so stupid. But they left out in the filing, which was, wow, go look at them to manipulate paperwork. They're filing something together, and this is the date they're doing on court filing, saying that they have the same address or this, that. Yeah, because under the law, when you file it, it's during the time of the occurrence where you live and everything else. But other paperwork, once again, that was not the case, because they obviously didn't see the whole thing of, once again, a typical CPS shit. They're going to do what they want to do and twist everything. But once they get a realize of some of this stuff, is I believe we're working on a dismissal form as well for Kentucky for that particular case, as well as notifying everybody, getting politicians involved now. People are aware of what's going on. This is a criminal act, let alone the act that we have that we have a whistleblower case. Um, I think that a lot of people don't understand. With our initial filings, we put in the evidence for them to look at it. So you're looking at treason and sedition. I believe there will be a update also that we asked for their subpoena of some of the other things, but the other thing that's coming in, because there are some amended filings because of this stuff going on, and you guys got to understand that just because you file your case, the idea is just to get your foot in the door, and then as you gain more traction and foot more, you can add to or amend to add other people or so on and so forth that have participated in your particulars of your case. So those of you that are doing pro se sui juris, keep that in mind that you can amend it. Don't feel like you have to upchuck and overwhelm them. The idea is get your foot in the door and talk about those particular things. And tonight we also have the CPS Punisher joining us this evening. Welcome, Darren, head of the CPS Breaking News Network, the mastermind behind it all. And if you don't know his story, it came down to some allegations and everything else. They came out with some criminal stuff. Case was dismissed, and child was never returned. They said, "Well, just because you were accused of something and never convicted, we're just going to hold that over your head. We're going to kidnap your kid and then absorbed in the system and gone." So we're talking about mass corruption, guys. We're talking about the law, the Constitution, none of these things. And I've noticed too. I don't know if you guys have followed. I was telling Sharon this earlier, but we watch. I know we have a couple of people that we watch. There's outing Mark Lowry or Ludwig. Mark Ludwig is one of them, and then I believe the Family Warrior Project, County Regul, has got something going. Nationally with Families Forward or Families Working Forward. You'll have to forgive me, Connie. I'm doing my best here.
He's been sick. He's been sick.
Yeah.
He's not on top of the game.
Well, one thing I noticed today, and I think this kind of broke a lot of people's hearts, and this is something we had to report. There was a video with both Tanawa and Jessica Saxon that has actually turned around and it is produced on, I believe, TikTok, but it's also come on the things that they are no longer working within the court systems as they promised people that they're going to work outside the court systems with his latest announcement. So that is not happening.
What does that mean?
Basically, he's saying that the courts are so corrupt, he's not going to get anything done in it, was his thing. He talks some military strategy type thing, and the only way to get things done is outside the courtroom. Well, that's the shady shit. And I mean, to me, in my opinion, these are what our three tiers of government are for: the executive branch, Congress, and the judicial branch. You're to make your petitions known to the judicial branch, not go over there and kiss somebody's ass or grease somebody's palm or any of that bullshit like what has been happening. I'm holding you accountable because you are an elected official to represent us. You work for us, we the people. I am never going to I will ask for the assistance from those elected and appointed officials, yes, but I'm not going to beg them to correct something they should be already aware of to correct this stuff. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just that's my personal opinion.
Isn't transparency supposed to be like the number one thing in these things? Like we're trying to be the like here it is, right? Like lay it out so that people. Yeah. The thing that's gotten us where we're at is the lack of transparency and the behind the shadows bullshit. So why is it a person that would be fighting for that would choose to bounce out? You're supposed to go right head first with these guys. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're doing. We're meeting them where it meets the road, man. Like there's no bullshit here. This is what it is. This is honest. This is straightforward as it gets, man. You want to read about it? Look at it and pace it. Yeah. Is it just because they can't achieve what they said that they were trying to do? Is that what it is? Because if that's what it is, then say that. Be honest about it.
Yeah, that was my big thing too. But I told Sharon too. I go, watch. This is going to turn into a political campaign. This is going to be a run for some office. Is what this is going to be. And sure enough, it comes down and they're traveling around, putting people on notice. They were in Atlanta. They were in this. They were in that. Mark Ludwig, he's been doing a lot of things with Fathers First and a lot of those rights. He's making a lot of headway, but even he's saying, hey, I only expected this to take so long. I didn't realize I'm still doing this. I think his latest report, he was in Missouri. And, those are some people doing some stuff for Fathers Rights. And how there's a conflict of interest with child support and how these courts are just financially raping fathers, and basically, and so on and so forth. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But first there was talk, like I said, I think the big hype or the letdown, especially with Tanoa, was we're going to SCOTUS, we're going to Washington, we're doing this, this is going to happen, this, we're going to put these on those. Well, you and I both know part of the court system of the judicial branch of government, you can't go directly to SCOTUS. You
No.
have to file an initial case, and
And
then
you
it has
guys,
to go to appeal. And then even then you can request SCOTUS, but it's like what, 2%?
that's what I
Maybe
was
even
just gonna
here.
say, and that's 2% of like 40,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's not to, you know, like it's not like you're just gonna march into the Supreme Court and be like, "Hey, everybody, I'm coming in my case." You know, like they make it sound like it's easy like that. You know, like that's not how this stuff works.
Well,
And I
and I
never
think
like
the
that.
thing was the misinformation, because I'm sitting here in a court case, and this is no offense to anybody, but to prey on people and not know about your judicial system, to say you're going to run straight to a SCOTUS, one is going to have to be appealed. One, even in our case, we win our case. Okay, great. They're going to appeal, which they're going to look at the case and say, okay, we have this and that. If they feel there's an argument that wasn't made or something that needs to be completely established, then yes, they would recommend that case for SCOTUS, and then SCOTUS would put it on their schedule to hear the hearing and have both sides there and basically have their arguments, like you guys have seen in very similar to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out in California, which you guys have seen all the videos about CPS workers lying and doing this for the pain children and stuff like that. I got some noise there on your end there, Darren. There it
Sorry
goes.
about that.
Yeah, that's all good. But yeah, everybody now listen, we're not knocking saying everybody's doing the best you can, but the problem is there's an old saying, don't go off half cocked. Okay. And that meaning, get all your information before you go attack something. You need to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and know what you're talking about. So, do you not, guys? And I guess you guys don't realize the stuff we do on, especially on our shows, our network, is research to make sure we're not putting out false information. It's verifiable. It has the right process. It has this. It has this. We learn as we go. Yes, but at the same time, we're not giving up false hopes of somebody saying that they have all this stuff. And like I said, and yes, it is a fight, 100%. And Anna, I'm with you there. It's a fight, and everybody's trying to figure this stuff out. But you don't shout, "I've got the answer," or somebody yell fire and watch everybody run when there's no fire and there's nothing catching fire. That's what we're talking about. And this is what we're talking about too, with a lot of advocates, people that call themselves advocates.
I mean, how many people did that just break? How many people hearing that news were able to lift themselves up, that little bit, that last bit of strength that they had left in their fight in their bodies, to fill out an affidavit, to file it for that, to think that they finally had an opportunity, a chance, a voice in all of this, and it just turned around and then they were let down again. This has been going on, Gunner, for 30 years. I mean, if Nancy Schaefer came back to life today, would she still think that she was in whatever 1997? I mean, or whatever it was when she was alive, because nothing's changed and people are still giving those same empty promises. You know, it's fine to say, like, look, I'm having, but they're telling these people that what some of these people are doing is they're guaranteeing them, they're telling them that they're gonna win. This is it, you know, and that's not right, man. You can't. The people that are involved in CPS cases are so freaking fragile, man. They're so beat up, they're so worn down, they're so destroyed. You can't give them false hopes. You need to be as transparent and as not, because look, we all will do whatever we can for our kids. You know, like there's some things that you would probably think that you would never do, you know, that you would do for your kids. So that's the mindset of all of us in that. So when you tell them that this is a guarantee and this is a no-brainer and you're going to win this and you devote your money to it and you do all these things, and then just to be, not that you lost, you didn't lose, you just quit.
Yeah.
You know, you went back on what you said. And that's just, they can't.
And that's why I'm thankful, I guess, you know, for one of the things that we offer on our network is Sharon Show for those psychological forms of abuse and, you know, people taking advantage of people and learning and teaching them the science, because a lot of them were not taught. boundary circles, this, that, and hey, watch out for this. Hey, this is a red flag. Hey, give us something. That's why we've always encouraged everybody, hey, give us your constitutional rights victims affidavit. Tie the cases together is what we're doing, but file your own constitutional rights violation thing, your own TRO, serve them with their color of laws, serve them with their trespass, put them on notice with all this stuff, and start hammering them with paperwork, because us talking is one thing. What we're finding out is without um, paperwork and a paper trail or documents of every little thing they're doing, that gives you more when you come into the court of going, look, I've served them with the color of law. I did a trespass. I warned them. Here's videotape evidence. Here's this, here's this, here's this. The overwhelming evidence, because when you go into a federal courtroom, especially, it's a common sense, common law court. So we're going to use common sense, not legalese, not this other bullshit and all these statutes, all that other stuff. It's why? Because the Constitution is common law. So you're going to have common sense of saying, Your Honor, and to the jury, look at what all I've got that's hard evidence where they lacked on allegations and this and that, and they didn't follow. And had they just followed their own the right policies and procedures, or just used a little common sense and wasn't driven by numbers or a performance issue, which now it's coming out, even CPS workers are flipping, talking about they're having to meet quotas and numbers per month and everything. I mean, they're flipping like crazy now because they know the ship's sinking. They know it's sinking, and they're jumping off, and the courts are being exposed. And I'll at least give Tana one and Jessica this. Is she exposed one of the judges that was in our case, that actually for another case doing the same thing about not following the Constitution. And that's huge.
Yeah. This is, I just got, you saying all this stuff. I got to do this. I just have to do this. I'm sorry. But, I've got to do this. I'm sorry. It kind of reminds me of this, buddy.
Something?
This is my channel. This is what channel reminds me of.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. We're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington D.C. to take back the White House.
And that fast, your career's over. That's it. That one little slip up. That one little slip up, man. Just couldn't keep it together. And that's
I think we call that. I've sure if I'm right in the right term, that's called puffing. Puffing up.
Well, yeah. I think if you've got it, if that's what you're going for. Like, what do you like? Sorry, puffing up like yourself, or?
Well, I mean,
I know Darren, you got
a lot of ambient noise, Darren, that's coming in there. Sorry, that mic picks up a lot.
Sorry, it's really distracting. So there's a lot of people out here willing to take advantage of victims, just bottom line. And I'm not saying name specific or anything like that. I've been seeing it over and over and over. People come to me, tell their story, and they were offered help and they weren't. And I think that there is a huge difference between supporting and empowering people to do for themselves than there is to offer to do it for them. And I think that a lot of people are very worn out. This battle is not for the faint of heart.
No, it's been going on for decades. I mean, we've got documentation of that. Matter of fact, that's one of the things I think we're adding in our filing is what that client right handbook that we have a copy of, a digital copy of, going in on the added exhibits and evidence with our additional filing. Go, oh, wait a minute. We're not just going to have you subpoena your more recent one in 2025. Here's something that's over a decade old that you've been doing this for a decade now. Now I'm going to make you shit a brick.
Well, I think that people are worn out, and not to mention when parents have their children taken away, that's like ripping a piece of their flesh and bone and blood and soul away. And so these parents, I mean, we're starting off broken. And so trying to navigate all of the information, the way the system works and everything else is very intimidating, and it's very complicated at first. and you have to do a lot of learning. So to have somebody come and say, just give me this and I'm going to do it for you, is problematic because nobody's been able to do it that way yet. I think that having conversations with people and helping them to understand like their rights and different options and being able to support them in their own goals and empower them to be able to do for themselves is just a very different approach. And I know that there are quite a few people out there doing it that way.
Yeah.
And I love to see it because y'all, we can't learn for you. We can't do for you. We can't do the research for you. I mean, we can definitely educate you on the things that we have researched and learned and experienced, but we can't do it for you because every case is
Unique and different.
so different.
Absolutely. And like I said, and like I said, you guys, a lot of stuff. I do try to take and answer a lot of questions. Once said, there's a lot of things that we have a lot of ground to cover. And if you're meaning personally, I have been out sick with a virus, and I have been down for about 2 weeks now, and I'm still on recovery and a lot of medicine, as well as a heart issue. So I have to deal with some of that stuff the best I can. But understand too, we have boundaries that we cannot cross certain lines because we don't want to get entrapped in some of the other things. Some of the advocates say, hey, you're practicing law without a license. No, I'm giving you information saying these are your options or these are reporting to you. Like a lot of us do, this is the stuff that we see other people doing and working. And that's where we have to limit. And there's a lot of people, I just need help. I need to do that. Listen, there's not going to be any quick fix to any of this stuff. If you've got some of the other things and they're doing this one, they've got you wrapped up. If you've signed anything, you're going to deal with that. I think our guest Becca the other night was saying she was in a really good area to where it was just a matter of uh, I did the bare minimum the judge told me to do, regardless of CPS. And the lawyer argued, they've done what you've wanted, Your Honor. What more is there to it? But once again, it depends on the amount of corruption in that county, because we've seen people do everything and jump through hoops for almost a year and get promised unification. And then they'll hold the kids back just like, oh, never mind, we're going to foster them out or adopt them out. And they do this on purpose. And it's just it's domestic terrorism is basically what it comes down to. Just bottom line, it meets the definition for the Department of Justice and the FBI for domestic terrorism of what they're doing to families. They're not going to like I said, when this comes in and having these conversations, I expect to have this week with a lot of people, and I'm sure Sharon will too, of you really need to look at this, because what we're talking about is something huge and has been going on for a long time. This is not happening, and this requires not just an investigation. These are acts of treason and sedition and kidnapping, because on just our the state we have alone, just the one, it goes back over a decade. What does that mean? Look into the legal aspect of it, because if you're actively involved in treason and sedition, you know what happens then? You have to pay back all the taxes you collected, because you can't legally collect taxes from that state, even to the businesses. You don't have the ability to adjudicate anybody. That means for over a decade, every case across the state would have to be what? Overturned, because you did not have the power. You were not within your statehood, the agreement, your contract of your statehood, that you would abide by the Constitution. Why? Because the state seals on there. Any amount of federal money that you've ever received, Social Security or anything, would have to be repaid and go into the rears. That's just one state. Now imagine when you have it for all 50 states, what's going to happen? They're going to have to, one, yes, return the kids. Two, they're going to have to take and come up with some sort of form of solution or monetary solution to compensate for the crimes they've committed and hold the people accountable that have done these things. That's what we're talking about. That's what we want to see. It's what we should be doing. But then you're going to have to investigate, how is it all these professionals and all these lawyers, and nobody's caught this for a decade, that it takes a private citizen, a private, person part of this country, we the people, to point it out. You all are supposed to be the professionals. How did you ignore this? How did this not go through your state law librarian? How can you allow these policies and procedures not to be constitutional? And when you crack that book open, oh, that's a whole hell of a mess. Because then they're going to start going through all your what? All your state, all your county, all your city, and everything else. You're talking about a constitutional audit of the state. The only way that happens is under martial law. They come in, they take over, and they wipe out everything. You now have to start over. You cannot come back in. It has to be gone through. What happens when it's not gone through? Now we have to make that correction. Why? Because now we're aware of it. We are now held accountable to do that, is the point. But that's a big change in the country. Now imagine doing all that on top of everything else this country's been going through, and digging out all the evil, and digging out all the stuff on this level and that level and that level, and this getting called off, and massive millions and billions of dollars of fraud and this and that, and cleaning up all these programs that they've been cleaning up that shouldn't have never got that far. What does that mean? It means going back to something and learning how to live. What's that going to look like for you and me? Oh, well, we can't. You're still going to go to work, but half this other stuff's going to stop. But what's that going to look like? And what's that world look like? And that's the vision we have to give to people. What does the world look like that is constitutionally sound in this country? Because it's not. We got to get back to the origination of our forefathers, which is why we cover what we're covering, especially tonight, is with the Constitution, going over, because there's a lot of stuff in there you guys don't know because you were taught. Well, I didn't know that. I mean, we're learning stuff all the time. Even with Darren, Darren even turned around, what was it, a couple of weeks ago? Holy crap, I didn't realize it said that. I missed that. It happens for all of us. But until
we're all in the learning process.
So, but hey,
Sharon, what did you say? What did you say there?
I said we're all in a learning process. None of us have all the answers all the time. That's
Hey!
why we're a team. That's why we work together. That's why we are out here networking with other people.
Yeah. How much of what you've had to learn because of what happened to you, that had you had known what you know now that you should have been taught in public education, would have prevented half the shit happening to you? Somebody comes to your house, no court order, no warrant or anything else, and I'm here and I'm reaching towards your kids. I use my Second Amendment. Bam. What happens? Well, you just, no. When they cross the threshold without the proper shit, I have justifiable cause. It's constitutionally protected to defend my home. Oh, yeah. Why? Because when you cross it, the threshold, foot in the door, you could a tippy toe past it, a finger past it. You just broke the Fourth Amendment. And when you're coming in,
how does it work for no trespassing signs?
Well, there's a lot of things. One, I'm going to go through the public display. You're going to have to go under the federal guidelines of posting and posting and document. You know what I'm saying? Those public notices is what they're called. I have mine to where it's the easement, usually off of most streets or county or city streets, is 6 foot. Is about the country's average. Some have less, more, anything else. But so long as you can see it and it's posted from the entry, in other words, if I have a property behind me, they can't come on there. They have to approach the front door automatically. In other words, they can't go sneaking around. But there's also curtilage that comes with that is as described. In other words, you have an easement off of your house, not just your house, but your easement there, which is called your curtilage. So my signage, for example, by law is visible from the road. Therefore, you cannot say you did not see the public notice, and it's right there next to the front door to where you can see that is the place that they gives them the one opportunity under their codes and statutes to come knock. As soon as you post that, unless you have a warrant or a court order or this. You cannot solicit, you cannot trespass, you cannot. As soon as you knocked on my door, you broke the law. That's where they screwed up. That's called a public notice. It is federally recognized. Here, Your Honor, it's done this. Now, there's an unspoken one, that the old purple post, where you paint a post purple for no trespassing, especially on rural areas, for no hunting and so on. If you're a hunter, got your hunter safety license, so on and so on, they're going to go through all that stuff in those classes appropriate. But yes, a purple post means no trespassing. That means you're not supposed to be there. Other than that, anything that's visible from the entrances. So if you have an alleyway, you're going to need to post it on your alleyway or some way through there. If you're in the cities and stuff, you have an alleyway, or if you don't have a neighbor, this is open to the street. It has to be visible from those particular areas. Not just a no trespassing. You have to make sure you cover all the bases with it. So in other words, you're going to do no warrant, no court, no warrant, no entry. That covers anything a judge would sign. In other words, you have to have something signed. Absolutely. No trespassing means if you're not invited here, you're not welcome here. And that's go back to Black's Law Dictionary. And no soliciting means you're not able to knock on my door to sell me something, which is what CPS is doing. Technically, is soliciting. You're coming past that posted sign. It is a finable offense, and it's also a criminal offense up to a certain point when they don't stop. Because once they're asked, even then, well, I'm allowed to. We're allowed this. Not they're training officers the wrong way. You see a post like that, you don't step foot on their property without a piece of paper. Just bottom line. If anything else, you need to find a different way to approach the home, make say a death notice or something like that. Hey, you better pick up a phone call. Don't go on that man's property. But see, once again, they're under that assumption. Well, we have a right. No, you do not. Unless somebody from this property has said, or somebody's willing to sign a affidavit that somebody is in dire straits, or when they get there, they can hear the screaming or the blood curdling, anything else, or some physical thing to cause, in other words, imminent danger or probable cause to actually come in, you cannot come into the home. And it's the most sacred thing. And the amount of federal case law on it is just so highly stacked, and it does not budge. There's no wiggle room on it. And it has stood up time and time again for the entire length of our Constitution, even when it's been challenged under many different precedents. It's been thrown. It's an absolute. There's just nothing to do with it. So a lot of that is covered. So if you do your signage right. Mine even includes the castle doctrine that comes for there, basically notifying somebody there's a no retreat. Here's the code for the castle doctrine. There's a no retreat in my state. In other words, you come in here, I don't have to run. I can stand my ground and I can blast your damn brains off if I feel a threat. Just that simple. Shotgun blues, baby. And the thing is people don't understand, just because they wear a badge or they work for the state or they do this or they do that. Once you violate that constitutional right, that job title don't mean shit. Nothing under the Constitution. You're stripped of all immunity and everything else, and even your job title. They will tell you even that officer or whatever worked on their own recompense and did it officially. We're not connected. Well, he was in the uniform, so you're still held liable. As far as those things, that goes down to liability. That's a whole different aspect. But they were working in their official capacity. If you were here in your official capacity, you're held responsible, but you're also held personally responsible because you're supposed to know. That's the same thing with it, even in the military, as an unlawful order. It comes down to or a directive. You can follow orders, but if you feel it's unlawful, you do not have to follow it. Then they'll do an investigation to see who was right, back and forth. But when it comes to the Constitution and the Fourth Amendment of your home, not just your home, it covers your car, it covers your hospital, it covers your hotel stay, the entire thing. And if more people knew that, half the shit that went on a TV show, Cops and everything else, is so damn illegal. I mean, and there's the thing, they're pushing that stuff on you. You know why they put those shows out? Because they get you normalized to having them break the law.
It's propaganda.
100%.
It's mental conditioning. You know how you watch those investigation shows, whatever they are, and somehow the person who doesn't let them into their home to talk to them is always the guilty party.
Yeah.
So now it assumes if you're going to hold your Fourth Amendment, then you're guilty. It's a problem. And the thing is that your home is supposed to be your safe space. That's supposed to be where you can shut the world out and be safe. And it's a very harsh psychological break when somebody violates that.
Well, and you know what the funny thing is those same police officers that claim that bullshit and CPS motherfuckers that do that shit, they'll be the first ones to train their family and kids. Don't let them in here without a court order or warrant. They'll be the very first ones to train their own family that same thing. Well, wait a minute. I thought that covered up guilt. Nope. You got to watch your six because you never know what's happening. Why? Because cops will tell you because internal affairs is dirty. Why? Because they hold you accountable. Because they don't let you get away with shit and you're not allowed that badge doesn't mean that badge is a privilege to serve. The same as anything else. And once again, if you don't want that responsibility, then don't take the job. It's just that simple. We, the people, have every right within the Constitution to defend ourselves. If it comes down to it, if it comes down to that, let it be. Oh, well, I want to feel safe. Well, you gave up comfortability. You gave up your rights for feeling safe. I'll never do that. And I'll never want that. I'll never want that for my children. Why? Because that's not constitutionally sound. And there's no such thing as safety. Because when safety comes in, when you give up your rights to another person or expect that of another person, that leads the opportunity or the window for manipulation, control, and perversion for holding that over your head, which is what exactly is happening till eventually it goes along. And then they do stuff like what has happened in our case, where they write in all 50 states, we have a right to come into your home and this, that. Your state gave away your constitutional rights. That is an act of treason and sedition. And what we're talking about is what you're convicted in the right thing. Absolutely, you should pay for it with your life for what you've done. Every single one of you bastards. And I'm not going to, once again, that's constitutionally sound. I'm not calling for some, I'm saying you be held accountable under the Constitution. The Constitution says when you go to war against the Constitution, that's an act of treason. And the penalty for treason is death. And it's time we brought it back. You know how quick this country would shape up and everybody else would turn around once you cleaned all that politician and all that bullshit up. And then you turn around and all of a sudden they started executing people for that shit. The next people coming in, I guarantee you, would make sure they would insulate their ass. Let's make sure we don't do that. Why? Because people are being held accountable. There's the other problem. There's no consequences for actions. We've been dealing with that all the time. Keyboard warriors, when the internet come out. I mean, come on. Somebody typed somebody and hurt their feelings. All of a sudden, people's psyche would break and everything else. Next thing you know, they're off committing suicide. Over what? Somebody said something mean to me. Man, I was grown up. Come on now. We used to make fun. I'm old school. I mean, I grew up in like that section of the area. You don't talk. Man, we had your mama jokes. We had this jokes. We made fun of every race, every color. We all just cut up on it. But when there was no racism. There was none of this. We all made fun of each other. Hell, we made fun of ourselves. But once again, you got to get some tough skin and understand this world that's out there. When you get on the world, listen, you get out into a blue collar job, good luck. You want equality and everything else for sexes and this and this. And guess what? You're going to have to listen to some bullshit because people talk smack. Well, we shouldn't be that way. Well, guess what? That's called freedom of speech. I can talk some mad shit, but y'all got to get the plug out of your butt and turn around and say, quit taking it so damn serious. It's a joke. Let's laugh at each other. That's how we got along and we got through the day. I mean, crazier than shit. I used to have a buddy of mine, a real good black buddy of mine, stuff like that. He'd come in with all this other stuff. He'd come in, this dude would have a pack of ribs and watermelon and everything else. Like, man, you got the cookout special. And he come up like, he goes, hell yeah. And he turned around, he goes, but he goes, I'll be cooking it on this and that. And just laughing and cracking up. The guy, the Mexican guys, man, what'd your old lady bring you or something like that? Man, I got tacos, I got this, I got that. Man, you talking about a spread for a whole family. everybody eats. Yeah.
It came up in the comments. Y'all, I homeschool. My kids are second generation, and I am planning to do a show specifically to give you all information on homeschooling. And I'm hoping to do it. It won't probably be tomorrow, but I'm hoping next week. So I was just going to put that out there since y'all started talking about it in the comments. And if you actually homeschool, you can reach out to me.
Highly recommend it.
Help me out.
Get your kids out of this system and out of this propaganda. Get your heritage back. Get your family recipes back. Get your secrets back. All those things, grandma, start asking those questions and getting it back into those kids because we've lost a lot. You need to do this. This is important. How to get out in the woods and survive. I mean, that's a lost skill hardly anymore. But guys, let's continue on. Let's go with this here. Let's pick up where we left off last week, and let me see if I can adjust this. Yep, bottom of the screen there. Let's continue on here. We're going to go back to the Constitution. We went through the Bill of Rights. We went through the preamble. We're now in the articles of the Constitution. We're going to wrap up Article 1 today, Section 10, and then we're going to move into to Article 2, and we're going to continue with this series of educating you on your constitutional rights and why and how some of these connect with some of these fancy words that we may not understand, get a little bit of clarity and realize some of the things that people are in Congress and people that are doing some of the things that they're doing in our real world to understand, wait a minute, that's not constitutional. You're not supposed to be doing that. Our website is CPS Breaking News, and all of our shows are on there. I'm sure Darren can put that in the comments right there. And we've actually got links to that. And then each one of our shows usually has its own YouTube page, or you can go to the CPS Breaking News network that's on YouTube, and you can find all the shows that are there. You can like and follow through there. My show here at Gunning for CPS, we do it every Sunday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Sharon has hers at 9 o'clock on Monday. Every Monday Eastern Standard Time. Then you have the Tiff and Punisher show, and then I believe we have Foster Care. We have a couple of new shows coming out. I believe we've just signed up a few people. I believe we've got a guy that's doing ADA stuff that's going to focus in on American with Disabilities Acts for you guys coming out with a new show. Is that correct, Darren?
That is correct. And if any of you think that you can if you have what it takes to come out and maybe do your own show, then get in touch with us on the site. Or if you guys want to be a guest, also.
Yeah,
you can go ahead and do that on the CPS Breaking News website. Just go there, and there's a like what's your story section, I believe, is up there, and you just go ahead and submit your information, and we will get that. And if you want to be, if you want to pick or choose, or want us to go through and see your emails or whatever, then we'll do that. But and also there's the forum on there. Check that out, guys. That's where everybody's interacting. There's a lot of information on there that people are sharing, and we're building that community. So let's get on there and let's do that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe we've got some stuff coming up as the website develops, and there's a new AI program for CPS coming out. We got a few more bugs, I believe, working on that, but I believe the website is also going to include some new swag. And from my understanding, that helps, does a lot of support for the shows. As a lot of us, we do this stuff at there's no financial gain to it. It's all basically, volunteer, those things to share that information based off of that. But there's a lot of the costs that different ones go through and absorb. And it'd be nice, a little help here and there. We don't ask for, like I said, something crazy. But I definitely guarantee you when this new AI thing done, we've been playing with it a little bit, getting some bugs out of it big time. When this thing kicks off, let me tell you something, that thing is going to be the weapon they hate for decades, because it does everything and it's spectacular. And I can't wait till that's released and work out a few things. I think we got one or two coding issues, I believe, that Darren and I were talking about to work out, but hey, they're getting there. But yeah, get that swag out there, especially with this case, our case going forward, man. That Gunning for CPS and Beauty and Ashes, we may come up with a special edition shirt or sweatshirt line out there just due to the case, and put the case number on it, so you guys can go out there and go, well, hey, what's this about? Abolishing CPS and federal case number, and these two shows, man, you got to figure out what's going on, man. They blew the whistle on everything, the whistleblower case. And that's the difference, like I said, between us and a lot of the others, is we try to educate as we've gone. We've learned a lot as we go through here. And and the biggest detail is the paperwork, documenting, because if it's not in front of a judge, they're not going to go off of hearsay. They're going to want to see the hard evidence. They're going to want to see the paper trail. They're going to want to see what you've done. And once all that stuff's done, that's what it comes down to. And Sharon even laughed. I think her comment this week is, I can see where attorneys like paralegals that do all this damn paperwork with the stuff she was doing this week.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so much work. And I didn't have ChatGPT helping me either, so that might be part of it. I should have just like had chat.
Well, guys, let's continue. Let's jump into the Constitution here. Let's get a little bit more education going here now that everybody's a little caught up. Current events and everything else. Section 10, powers denied to the state. In other words, these are powers that the states can never have or have over the people, that is specifically delegated to the federal government or to the Constitution or to their contract of saying they all agree to come together on this one thing, which is the federal government. No state shall enter into a treaty, an alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit. Now, I'm going to have to stop there a little bit, because I kind of see a little bit of a problem here with stuff that states are doing. One, treaties means they can't make contracts or some of these other things, for money in the set, but bills of credit. I'm really starting to, with what I've gone down with some of the rabbit holes, they are emitting bills of credit, and through many different facets. How is this legally able to be done, even though it's not, gold or silver? It may be in what we call now credit or credit cards, or some of these, hey, we'll extend you so much credit. How is that possible? Because that's actually going on in just about every state that's unconstitutional, that I believe is not being addressed. I mean, get me wrong. You can't, it says things but gold, silver, coin, a tender and payment of debts, passed in the bill of attainder.
And I highly recommend to any of you that are watching, if you have not taken your money out of the banks and put your money into investing in metals, things of that, gold, silver, things like that.
Gold, silver, copper.
It's highly recommended right now, especially that you guys do that. It's a great move. It's we're going down a road here, guys, and we're going back to something great, but we've got to get there. So, just watch your six and take heed to what these people are saying. I know that they all think we're crazy nationalists and all this stuff, but there's a lot that goes to it. So make sure you guys look at that, like gold, silver, all of that stuff. Get your money out of the banks, put it into some real some metals and things like that.
Yep. Ex post facto law, bill of attainder, law impairing the obligation of contracts. Wow. In other words, obligated. In other words, I can impair it. In other words, I am not supposed to lie about my contracts. I'm supposed to not hide anything. We're talking about transparency. That's what it's talking about. You can't impair a contract, nor can you obligate somebody to a contract. In other words, anything you do with the state requires what? We've heard this before, your consent. It's right there in section 10. I can't contract with the state unless I give permission, and I have to have full disclosure. It also says they can't grant, title of nobility. So in other words, we're not going back to that thing, back to the old English terms of this and that. No state shall allow the consent of Congress. Now listen, without Congress's permission. In other words, all 50 states have to come to a consensus and vote on a bill. allowing something or a certain state to do or not to do. They don't have the freedom to do this. To lay an import or duties, lay any imports or duties on imports or exports, except what may be absolutely necessary for executing what? It's inspection. Wait a minute. You can't tax all these businesses and all this other stuff for import and export outside the state of this stuff. All you're allowed to do is do your inspections and charge a reasonable fee for it. That's what it says. Uh-oh. How many states are doing import, export, and this and that, especially with, I think the biggest one right now is what? People that won't legalize marijuana and certain things, but you can import it, but we're going to tax and import. That's denied unless that's done by Congress. That's a violation of the Constitution when you pass those to tax those people. Uh-oh. Yeah, you should have looked back at it and read the Constitution. You can't. You're importing something from another state because you don't want to grow it yourself, but you're going to put a special tax on it. I hope you got Congress's approval. So those of you listening out there that may be in that realm of this and that, there's you a chance to have that question, that constitutional question in the federal court. Wait a minute. How am I being taxed when it says they can't tax on something that's imported from one state to another? But until you ask the question, they're going to get away with it. That's why they're making you ignorant of the federal courts. Because when you go to the federal courts, it holds them accountable. Because that's where you take all your petitions where it's you versus the state. Wait, the state can't do that. Where do we make that settlement? In the federal courts. You can't do that. So, yeah, Georgia, I think, is one especially that you can import, but the tax on everything, we're going to charge you a bunch of tax on something you're importing from another state. Georgia, you got a problem. Unless Congress gave you special permission to do that, you can't, and that's not an inspection fee. You called it a import tax. Yeah, you got to watch what you label those things. And I know there's other states out there, but that's the one that is most recently has come up on some of the things in the news here. No state without the consent of Congress lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops, ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state or with a foreign power. You mean the state of this can't contract with the state of that without the consent of Congress? You mean like CPS crossing state lines and saying they have the contract to cross state lines? Nope, can't do it. Why? Because now you're dealing with the sovereignty of the state. Says right there, you can't even make that agreement. That agreement that you've made, CPS, with all the other states to share information, guess what? That's unconstitutional. You're not supposed to take and do it. Why? Because you entered into a contract to share information with other states. That's an agreement. That's a contract. You can't do it. Why? Because we're in a time of peace. We're not in war. You're not needed. It's only reserved for war efforts. Ouch.
Also, AKA Void ab initio.
Yeah. So let's go into this one. Now, this is where we're going to get into Article 2. This has been the biggest argument right now that's been in the news right now and in the past couple months here is the powers of the president or the executive branch of government that even the courts have tried to tell the president what to do. And this is what it goes back to, is going back to the interpretation of the Constitution directly. So we're going to go back to the Constitution. The executive power shall be vested in the president, in a president, not many, one person of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, in other words, they're side by side, as we always see, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in much manner as legislation The legislature, therefore, may direct a number of electors. In other words, we're talking about electoral college and how many electoral things that they have, equal to the number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled. This is why the census is important and why they're trying to redo the census, is to get those numbers more accurate for the seats in the House of Representatives, to make sure that that's accurate. As well, the senator part, it's just two. That's what they get, two per state. It doesn't matter. But Congress, which is the House of Representatives, goes through that particular thing, is based off of your census of how many people live in there, how many seats they get to equally represent the amount of people. But no senator, representative, or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed as elected. In other words, you can't have a vested interest or benefit by being one of the electoral representatives, is what it's saying. The electoral shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for two people, of whom at the least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves, and they shall make a list of all the persons voted, counting votes, and the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify. In other words, that's called certification of the vote, certifying the votes, which that came up in a lot of states. They certified votes that weren't accurate, or mail-in votes, or they certified votes that were mailed in. So that's talking about this section here. And transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the president of the Senate. Okay, head of the Senate. Okay, they're going to deal with it. Everything there, and they send it to the Senate. This is who the president is. This is where our votes go. So on, so on. That's the official process. Once they've been sealed, transmitted, everything else, and counted, so on and so forth, then they go there. They do the official tally there. The president of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and the House, now that's both sides of Congress, open the certificates, and the votes shall be counted. In other words, it's before everybody. It's very transparent. There's no hiding. Everybody gets to peek over everybody's shoulder, the whole 9 yards. There's full transparency, accountability by all sides in every state, making sure everybody's doing everything the right way, supposedly, is the way that that's done. The person having the greatest number of votes shall be president, if such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if there be more than one who have such a majority and have an equal number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them. In other words, we have a tie. Very rarely, I think it's only happened, maybe once or twice in our history, Derek, I think, where they've had to make that split decision, by the House of Representatives, which is basically your popular vote, based off the amount of the seats. In other words, it represents more of the people versus 2 and 2. And if no person has a majority from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall, in like manner, choose the president. In other words, it's talking there. But in choosing the president, the vote shall be taken by states. The representatives from each state having one vote, a quorum. In other words, you have to meet a amount of people in the audience there. You have to meet that. I think Texas is dealing with that now, to where they can't do anything in gridlock because they can't meet quorum, right?
Twice it's happened.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, so it is. Yeah, it was twice. The quorum, in other words, there has to be enough people there to vote, and you can deadlock a vote by people walking out, which is what's happening in Texas, and that's why they're being recalled and all the other stuff of, we've got business to do, and you're supposed to be doing your job. Why are you not here? That goes in it, which a lot of our states mimic the original Constitution when it comes to these particulars here. A quorum of this person consists of a member of members from 2/3 of the states. In other words, you got to have 2/3 of your states present to move forward with the vote. And that's what was jacking up Texas. Those people had just walked off the scene, and now we can't meet the quorum. Therefore, we can't do business, and you're shutting us down. And nobody should have that power. That is uncalled for. That's unprofessional. That's what you were elected to do, is make your voices heard, not throw a temper tantrum, and be held accountable, which is obviously what's happening there, or they're working on it. A majority of states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case after the choice of president, the person having the greatest number of votes of the electorate shall be the vice president. But there shall remain two or more having equal votes. The Senate shall choose from them by ballot the vice president. Pretty plain forward language. Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors, the day on which they shall give their votes, which they had the same throughout the Congress. That's already set, on the days that we have. No person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible for the office of president, and neither shall any person be eligible to the office that has not attained the age of 35. In other words, you got to be 35 and 14 years at least a resident in the United States, because some people do have dual citizenship, but they've come down to this here. This is where a lot of the Obama administration, this and that, focused in on right there. Born a natural citizen on this, hey, I'm not, you've got to inherit this. Well, my mother was this, but I was born here, but I'm registered. Well, how did they do it, and how the cover up was done? And a lot of that is coming to light too. This all goes back to the Constitution, people, of the things we're doing, is whether or not things were done constitutionally. In case of removal of a president from office, or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president. In other words, the vice president will succeed the president, as we've seen in the past with old Tricky Dicky and a few other cases, that have gone on. Johnson, some of the others, like when Kennedy was shot, the vice president took over. But once again, he was part of the assassination that we now know for John F. Kennedy. That was actually, they used that as, well, the president's dead, so now I get to take over. That was dirty as hell. But like I said, there was a lot of times we've gone throughout history. If you've lived long enough, you've known a lot of dirty vice presidents that were in that position to actually, their goal was to take over the presidency, or some sort of scheme or something to take over the country by that default clause. They're trying to do it with an illegal aspect, so a lot of times by breaking the law, like killing a president, but they're getting their job done. Hey, well, we're doing it within the Constitution. He's dead, so I'm next, and that's just the way it is. But that's why there was like the Warren Commission and a lot of those other things that were there in those investigations that went on, and why they buried it. And now it's all come to light that it's all true. I'm surprised that they don't have anything that happened during that time when the vice president took over to become president, that there's not been something brought before Congress to actually nullify anything that president did, due to the fact that we now know the vice president at the time that killed JFK, that all of his actions should be null and void due to the fact he committed an act of treason and sedition and killed our president, duly elected president. I believe Congress needs to address that now that we know that, and repeal everything that was done by that presidential stand-in at that time, because the law demands it, because of what we know. Congress may provide law provided by the case of removal of death or resignation, inability of both the president and the vice president, declaring what officer shall then act as president, and such officers shall act accordingly until the disability be removed. In other words, president's out, he's sick, he had an injury, heart attack, this or that, he's back at this, that, well, the vice president steps in, swears in because the president's been incapacitated, but he has the ability to come back, heal up, and then take over his duties again, like an interim, or bridging the gap, if you will. The president shall, at stated times, receive for his services compensation, which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the time. In other words, he can't give himself a raise, he can't diminish it, all that other stuff. You're going to get paid the same thing regardless for all 4 years. You're locked into a 4-year contract, basically. For which he shall be elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emulate from the United States or any of them. In other words, his only check he should be getting, no kickbacks, no lobbying, no this, no that. The only thing the president's able to receive is the paycheck per year, the salaried amount for those 4 years, no other enticements, no other thing and this and that. You are on a flat salary. You can't have anything else. Very strict on that, which, there'll be some investigation in some of these others of where people were stealing, through Biden administration and through the Obama administration, things that are coming out with, they were getting kickbacks, and they were trying to hide it through um, uh, presidential campaign donations, and let alone they were profiting from this of millions and millions and billions of dollars through all these things. Under the Clinton administration, you had, what is it, the Clinton Foundation, that they're tracing a bunch of money from these NROs and everything else that they were getting kickbacks. That's illegal. That's what that's what it's saying. You're stealing from the American people, and they're going to be held accountable. There's a lot going on right now, like I said, within the walls of Congress, and a lot of things that are coming to light. Before he entered into the executive office, he should take the following oath or affirmation: I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now, so guys, we're going to wrap up that thing, and we'll pick up in section 2 next time. But let's talk about some of this stuff that, wow, there's a lot there that we covered that in our own real world, we're going like, wait a minute, that shit's actually going on. And what the hell? How far have we come away from the Constitution?
Just
wow. Just a little?
Little bit. I think that over time we have lost sight of it, possibly purposefully. They don't really teach the whole Constitution in school, and I think people are just not aware. And I think that a lot of our leaders, whatever you want to say, take advantage of that.
Well, that's like always growing up in school. You always had officer friendly. You had, Duck McGraw or whatever, the dog that, does all that other stuff. And law enforcement's always your friend, and this, and when you get older, you begin to understand, wait a minute, these guys are legally able to lie to you to get what they want. Why would it take a person of integrity? This is my question. Why would it take a person of integrity not just to go after the facts to go after everything else and go after the truth, rather than to lie and manipulate to get what they want? That tells me you're either really, really bad at your job, or you don't know what you're doing, because you have to lie and manipulate to do it. But it also becomes a trust issue, because now if you're willing to lie to me like any other person, I can't trust you. Because how are you any different than anybody else that comes to lie, steal, pillage, anything else in my home or my family? You're no different.
And there's a lot of propaganda within our society. And unfortunately, our mainstream media is very biased one way or another. And there's a lot of propaganda that's fed to us, our news channels as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that we've all seen it going through CPS cases. Something will come out of our mouth because we're trying to defend ourselves for good reason, but whatever we say gets twisted into a whole completely different meaning. And that is what our media does to us. That is what the propaganda is all about, is they take something that may have started out innocent or may have started out a certain way, and they sensationalize it. Sorry, stumbled over that one.
Well, it makes for good TV and entertainment is the issue. All the show, and that's where you watch a bunch of these people do a lot of really bad, crooked things, violate constitutional rights, and they go on. Yeah, we got the bad guy. We got, hey, cops, bad boys. What are you going to do? And all this stuff. And you're over here like, damn. And talk about excessive force, talk about this, talk about where was the intent, and then they wonder why there's such a disassociation between you and the public, or the public doesn't trust you. I mean, and that's what. And not saying all officers are like that. Let's make sure our deputies are like that. Some do that and want to help people. I mean, you've got good ones that'll come up, see somebody struggling, and they know that the department has a fund. Hey, you don't have a car seat or this and that. You know what? Stay here instead of me writing you a ticket. You can't afford it. Let me run to Walmart and go get you a car seat and put it in there for you as part of a community project for this and that, instead of calling in CPS, doing all this bullshit, stealing your fucking kid, putting you with child endangerment and this and that. You know what? It's not that parent's fault if the economy and the place that they live is so shit that they can't afford basic minimums. We don't control this. Our elected appointed officials and the banks control this. It's their fault that's causing I can't get bare minimum. Let's hold them accountable. So instead of making me the criminal, why don't you help? And that's the biggest thing with CPS. Why? Because now that means money.
Well,
that means money.
There's a huge disconnect there too, because technically speaking, sheriff, deputies, and even police are technically supposed to be in service of the people, not in service of the system. And there is a very big disconnect.
Conflict of interest. Yeah.
And we've seen it written into their policies and procedures, even that CPS is allowed to go and ask for law enforcement support in order to help them with a difficult parent or situation. And I would venture to say that there are times where maybe that may be necessary in very extenuating, imminent and dangerous circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
But the majority of what I have seen thus far would not be that case.
Well, let's put it this way. If I'm choosing as a taxpayer, as a we the people, between spending the money on giving somebody a full-time job doing CPS stuff versus buying car seats for kids that will actually keep them safe and give them away, I'd much rather help them with the car seats and everything else and know the children are actually safe in their parents' thing. It's a waste of money and resources to hire somebody to attack people for poverty and not safety. You're supposed to be there to help, to offer services. When you go to CPS or something like that and say that, and you did go to them supposedly for help, which everybody stays away from, I need help with housing. You're supposed to provide it. I need help with a car seat. You're supposed to provide it. I need help with food. You're supposed to provide it. That is your thing, your state supplement thing in there that it's supposed to, when these other organizations like churches, food pantries, this and that, and you don't have, you're supposed to pick up your phone and be able to call them to get these resources, which is what they're originally funded for. But they don't, because it makes more money for them to steal the child, call you a bad parent, and all this other stuff, rather than doing your fucking job, because your fucking job as CPS is to aid those in need. And that's like a fireman turning around and saying, we ain't putting the fire out till you run your credit card. I got to get paid. Can I get a tip? Here, did you tip? Yeah, like going up saying the driver.
McDonald's is hiring.
Yeah. and the other concept is half of these people don't have even children to even understand what it takes to go through to raise children. You're still living in mommy and daddy's basement. You're still doing this. You're barely getting out of your own, and you've got a great job thinking you're out there helping people and all this other stuff. You ain't helping shit. Go out there and struggle with a parent and get out there with somebody that really needs some help and get your damn hands dirty. But you know what they come in is, you'll ever notice these CPS workers, all of them, not a single one of them. They've been to Amazon. They got their nails done, did the whole 9 yards. I mean, they've ate really fucking well, especially in some states that you've experienced. They eat really well, especially with, Kentucky Fried Chicken being in there. But let me tell you something, hey, give one of them buckets of chicken to those kids. Don't eat all 6. Share a little bit. If you've got all that, and that's the same thing with everything with the sugary snacks and all the other stuff that they've been cutting from EBT, you shouldn't. Pay for it. Basic nutrition.
Alicia says, and they are in service of the people that work for CPS. Yeah, girl. Well,
Yeah.
the thing, they are this, and this is where it gets so confusing and it's very complicated. CPS, case where social workers are we the people, just like the rest of us, but that is where we say they are state actors because they are working on behalf of the state. They are working on behalf of the system. So in that capacity, they are not we the people. In their individual,
No.
like alone, like every day, yes, but when they're
Yep.
working for
Debbie
them,
says, you always notice they pull up in a nice, safe car,
I know, right?
nice house, all this other stuff. They've got all these nice things. Must be nice. I mean, and that's the whole thing. That's my money. Why are you wasting my money on giving this fool a job that won't even bring me anything when I need something? Or, hey, I've hit hard times. I'm a single mom. I've come down on sickness. I've come down with it. Oh, no, you're just an unfit parent and we'll just take care of it from here. You can't do this or that. Matter of fact, we'll just lose your kid and we'll ship them overseas.
It's not good.
And that's happening. That's the reality of our world.
They're being shipped across borders of all sorts.
Did you see the front page of the website? That report that we put out?
Yeah.
I did. I haven't read it yet.
That the amount of foster children that are missing, that they get kidnapped. It's crazy. You guys should really check that out. What did I say? 75,000 of them.
Yeah,
I think that are unaccounted for.
That's insane numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was insane when RFK went from 300,000 to over 500,000 in less than a week. Once they got into foster care numbers and everything else, that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, Erica, they do. They get new cars and they get to go on vacation with your kids. They get to do all kinds of things with your kids that you don't get to do because of these funds.
Kids, because I had a mom tell me the other day that the foster parents would leave their kids with other strangers while they went on vacation without the foster kid.
Oh, I've got one even better for you. I found out that supervisors, I've been tracking some people that have been a couple of stories too, where the supervisors, the ones that are not out in the field anymore, are now handpicking from the kids in their area who they want to steal. And they have like 10 or 12 different kids and 2 of their own and like 10 of somebody else's kids. And look how happy our family is. And nothing but a poster child. And they're getting extra incentive from CPS to promote foster care of I'm not the mom, but I'm the mom type t-shirts, like those family t-shirts. And it's so disgusting. I'm like, yeah, of like, I'm in a better place with all these kids than I'm better with my foster mom than I was with my real parents and shit. Like t-shirts of this shit. And I'm like, you are some sick fucks. And I guarantee you, like I said, some of those days you just want to roll back the time and you know what? Go handle some shit. I mean, and that's what it pisses you off. That's disgusting.
I think foster families are propagandized and programmed similar to what social workers.
Yeah.
You're needed. You're necessary. We can't do this without you. You're important. You're saving children. You're like you're so necessary. And I'm just sitting here like.
Well, and on top of the fact, that's just like the guy that showed up the second time, the supervisor over there with you. Well, all 3 of your kids have been done that. Where is that coming from? There's no evidence. There's no. You're lying. Here's the other thing. You are now giving false information in front of a police officer. You realize that's a crime, right?
That was
dipshit.
A move. I guarantee you that was a shock and awe move to get the officer.
But they're not supposed to lie. They're not law enforcement. They're not supposed to give false information to law enforcement. That's a crime.
That's also one of the moves they use on parents. If parents are not aware, they will use that shock and awe treatment of we're just going to blurt this information at you and see how you react.
Yeah, you know what? There are some things other countries do that if you have a lying tongue, they take your damn tongue and they cut that bastard out. To be honest, I wish that was here for the CPS workers. Why? Because of what you do to children and families. You ought to be punished for it. And I believe the punishment, like I said, for that stuff That's my opinion. No, we don't live in that. Do one of those things, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think it would be such a bad idea to cut a lying tongue out of somebody, because then they can't tell no more damn lies.
Debbie, yeah, my dad is not a happy camper right now at all. He is very upset about the whole thing.
Yeah. It's
I have a feeling somebody's
it's about to go down, like I said. And once a lot of this other stuff gets in, and some of these politicians, especially with what's happened with the criminal activity and some of the other things, it's just a matter of a short period of time, man. They're on recess, so they will be taking guys, just so you know. Definitely, if you guys don't know, to give us some support out there, call Tim Burchett's office in Tennessee. Make them known about our case. You guys have, some of you got our case number and everything else. Blow up his office in Knoxville, that he needs immediate attention for federal witness tampering in this case involved with us. Blow that office up, because that's what makes a difference when they get a hold of that. Same thing with Kentucky, Rand Paul. Call Rand Paul, Madison County, Kentucky. Start making that noise and blowing up and getting their attention, because it's been sent to them. And once they get attention, this is a federal crime. 20 years of somebody blowing the whistle, a whistleblower case on CPS for over a decade. And then the amended filing is going to go in, and all the other stuff's going to go here's over a decade of evidence. You've been doing this. Now what? We tried to play nice and all this other stuff, and I get you're busy, but now you're pushing to the point you're going to do this to come up and what? So you can write something in the federal court to try and dismiss the case because, something was founded or unfounded on some bullshit. That ain't going to work. There's a federal case file. You're going to follow the fucking rules. Because if you don't follow the fucking rules, then the second part comes in that doesn't fall in. Well, guess what? Here's the other thing people don't realize. It is now on the federal record of treason and sedition. There is not an excuse. It is not considered a, what's the word? The January 6th thing. It is not an uprising in anything. The evidence has been put on the record. The criminal acts are there. And if you refuse the act, we, the people, by the Constitution, do have every legal right to rise up. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. It's not an insurrection. The evidence is on the record.
I think that's sorry. Bring up though, because a lot of people don't understand how the branches of government can be utilized and work together. So, you have your executive branch, and you have your judicial branch, and you have your what was the third one? I don't remember.
Congressional
branch. Sorry.
It's all right. It's brain fart night. It's all good. Yeah. We're all doing the best we can tonight.
Had a rough week. And so we, under the First Amendment, have the right to take our petitions to the courts. Yeah. But we also have the right to reach out to our representatives and ask them for support. We have to do these. We vote these people in. We pay them. They are there for us. You have the right to petition. You have the right to ask. You have the right. Now, that's not to say that you're going to necessarily be heard right away. It's not to say that anybody's actually going to do anything right away. Things take time, and there are certain they have certain ways they have to do things. But
you have to go through the protocol.
Protocols, yes. And if you have enough people asking the same questions and saying the same things and asking for the same type of help, support, and relief, you're going to get more notice over time, I think.
Yeah. Making the noise, guys. That's where our voices are heard in our petitions in a larger group enough just to say, these are criminal acts. You have to address them. There is a federal case. You have to address them. I mean, these are musts, because if it comes down to it, it's on the record. And if it comes down to it to where they're not, or this or that, well within the people. Why? Because the evidence is already on federal record. We now have the right to what? Throw off that form of tyranny, even if it means by force. But there's a thing. People get scared. It's not an insurrection. It's an accountability. It's a constitutionality. We have put the evidence on record. When we reached out, nothing was there. What comes next? Now we got a problem. Because now you're doing this and you're and trying to come up with this bullshit. That is not going to work. And when the people are heard, It's like the old, we've mentioned this before, that old movie Ants with the grasshoppers. You know what I'm saying? As soon as we realize we, the people that are the ants, have all the power and control, the grasshoppers, which are all these damn fools that are doing this shit, are going to go, if they ever wake up, we're screwed. There's a reason for that. Make your voices heard in the right spot. And that's why it's so frustrating. I know you guys are tired. I know you guys are tired of these other movements and your hopes getting up and this and that. We're telling you that there's a real tangible shot of tearing this shit down for real with this. It's not a joke. Why? Because the evidence is there. The law is there. The Constitution's there. These are things that are non-negotiable. There's no wiggling out of the Constitution. Once it's heard, it's going to be, that's unconstitutional. It's already been ruled on. There's going to be no question to it. And it may kick off that, here's the thing, guys, if this works good, they may start all these criminal investigations in every state all of a sudden. And now you've got their attention because now, oh, I'm part of that. Then they may open up a special line. Hey, if you're CPS in your state, call this number. You know how quick those phones are going to blow up at the FBI? Because now they have to deal with it. It's on the front page. Cash Patel already made the promise. We're coming after the people that have coming after our kids, and we will hold them accountable. And he's talking about all those kids that RFK was talking about that took the kids and stolen from foster care. And they said they're still looking for them. There's an active investigation on all this shit. They know what's going on, but the more people that speak up, now we got a problem. Now you got to deal with it. But until we get together on one voice of not my case, but stand on the Constitution together, which a lot of people were hoping with a lot of those things, people are making headway. Listen, Mark Lowood's making great headway with fathers' rights, man. He's out there kicking butt in a lot of things with, and he's got a few hang-up states. But, man, that dude's made some progress. There's a lot of others out there that are making a lot of progress. Illinois is on blast lately with all the corruption that's out there. But, I mean, those are just some of the things I think that people have got to think of. And they say there's got to be a change. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, because here's the thing. I've had that come up. Well, aren't you worried about this, that? Listen, if you don't know where I'm at, look up Blount County, Tennessee, and look what the hell is going on here. You've got child molesters, predators, teachers, all this other stuff, religious organizations, all these cover-ups and everything else, even by the judges, police department, district attorneys, all these other things. Just research it. It doesn't take much. The feds are already in town. They ain't budging. They won't even break wind wrong. Right now their buttholes are so tight because the feds are up here all the time looking for stuff. Active federal investigations for mass corruption and covering up pedophilia rings. Massive. Nobody's going to do it. No, I'm pretty comfortable. What are you going to do? And I got a federal case. I mean, what are you going to do? I don't go nowhere. Don't do nothing just because of my health. So good luck saying, well, you were out or that. No, try again. So, but guys, it's exciting stuff we got going this week. We're looking forward to this next week as things begin. We have Sharon's show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. On YouTube. And after, right before that, we got Tiff and the Punisher coming out right before then with Darren and Tiff. Guys, don't forget to check that out tomorrow night. Like I said, we'll keep you updated as things come out. Don't forget to check out Beauty and Ashes on TikTok. I've got the Facebook page, Gunning for CPS. A lot of you guys follow me personally through a lot of that stuff too. Help each other out, love on each other, educate each other. This is what it's about. This is how we take and we better each other. We share that information. We share that knowledge, especially with the kids going to school. Don't forget that card. Get that into your teachers. Make sure everybody knows. Your kid knows what that means. That card is, you can't talk to me. It's this. People can't ask you questions. You say, here, look at the card, this. Hand those to your teachers. Take pictures, videos. Say as you go to the parent-teacher conferences. When you sign anything for public schools, make sure you put all rights reserved so they can't say that you signed away the rights to your kids. For this, that, no, I'm reserving all of my rights when I'm signing this, but I'm keeping my rights. Especially your parent-teacher handbook. That is a huge thing that they threw. Well, you sign this, and that's been pulled on. When my kids were growing up, they thought they were cute. They go, "Well, you signed the parent, the parent or the parent student handbook, right?" I go, "No, I wouldn't sign that shit, even if you paid me." I said, not. I didn't sign away my kids' rights." "Oh, you didn't? Yeah. If you have it, go ahead and produce it because I like to see it because it's forgery." So yeah, I don't sign that shit, at all. I mean, that was my thing. So no, I don't agree to what you're doing, and what you're doing is illegal. And all of a sudden, when that happened, they backed off, especially a lot with my kids going through school. Um, know your rights, educate other parents, let them know what's going on. If they think it's a joke, show them the card and say, "Hey, listen, your kids will, if you're in public school, you sign these things here and there, guess what's going to happen? CPS is going to come talk to your kid at school, and or a police officer or anything else without your permission or anything else, violating your child's rights. And they're going to say they have a right to do it because your kid's in public school until you notify them otherwise." That's where that card is. Don't forget that it's the CPS breaking news.com. Make sure you guys check that out there. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Keep an eye out as we do the release for the AI, the thing that's going to change the game for CPS. Listen, man, this thing is just kick ass. Great concept, great price on it and everything. But this thing does everything from the first interaction to CPS all the way to filing your federal case. I mean, from start to close. And man, we've really there's been a lot of things and input of different things that are on it. It's not a joke, man. Even to the point you can take this thing in court and do your own transcribing. I believe is on that too, to where you can it'll go through and tell you what's bullshit and what's not even is going on in court, and you have every right to have that because it's an ADA tool, and they cannot take and deny you for it. You're allowed to have those things. So guys, keep that in mind. Once again, check us out during the week. We'll keep you updated as things begin to progress through those things, and just make sure that we're just, and, record, document, collect that evidence. It doesn't matter. Lisa Tan, you'll hear more about that tool coming out. Yeah, once it's worked out, we're going to have a huge release on that. It's going to be all over the place. Man, I'm just telling you that it's an awesome tool. We've played with it already, and it's even taught us a few things that we've took and missed. Even going through some of the cases, like, oh wait, I didn't realize that applied too. And it's a great legal tool. It pulls from everything and updates constantly. So as soon as it's out there, it searches the web for itself. Awesome tool. That's all I can tell you guys. And wait till you get in there, you'll love it. Easy to use. But like I said, don't forget to get to take and check us out next week. Same time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. Sharon tomorrow night. She's got Beauty and Ashes at 9 p.m. Tiff and the Punisher Show, I'd say around 7:30-ish, somewhere around in there. And then I believe we're kicking off a few more things. But guys, stay tuned because we're growing. We've got new shows, later shows, old shows coming back, this and that. There's a lot of changes. Why? Because we are making traction, and we are taking notice. We've got a new ADA show coming up. Tremendous asset, guys. This is all for you. And don't forget, keep an eye on that stuff and check out the website for that card and everything else there, and the swag and some of the other stuff there. Check us out there. Thanks again, guys. Darren, thanks for being on. Sharon, thanks again, obviously, as always. And guys, have a great night. And let's just kick ass and continue on. And you guys keep doing what you're doing. Love on each other, support each other, educate each other, and watch each other's back. Keep each other in check. Make sure that you're not going off the deep end. And if you need help, make sure that you're reaching out to people. It's not that bad. There's always going to be a time of reconciliation. Even up till the child is 18, there is a time that is going to happen where you're going to be at the kids. But we need to take and prepare your mind, be able to heal, be able to learn some new skills and everything else, circles, boundaries, everything else, and prevent this type of stuff from ever happening again to our children and to our great grandchildren. Thanks again. Have a great night.